I see scalability is in phases. Is this scalability for awareness? Is it for capital? Or is
Yep.
it for culture? It has to fit into one of those categories for me because all three of those will build your business.
Kick it.
Welcome to Strata Stories. My name is Thomas Schreiber. I'm the Director of Marketing here at Strata PT. Strata PT combines your EMR and billing into one automated system to increase revenue and achieve a 99.99% reimbursement rate for physical, occupational, and speech therapy clinics. Recently, Strata PT was ranked the #1 EMR and billing system in outpatient therapy and rehab from Class Research. On today's episode, Paul Singh, CEO of Strata PT, sits down with Kate McCommons, an occupational therapist and the CEO of Grow Together Therapy. Together, they explore the real-world challenges of building and scaling a therapy practice. Kate and Paul dive into why building genuine relationships beats job posting on Indeed, how monthly team check-ins and quarterly one-on-ones drive problem-solving and growth, why every growth move should fit into awareness, capital, or culture phases, and lastly, the power of saying no and knowing where to focus your energy and when to let go. If you'd like to learn more about Strata PT and see how our EMR and billing works, head over to stratapt.com to book a demo. Now, without further delay, here's today's episode.
Looking at your website, my first glimpse of like how you operate your business, it appears to be highly differentiated. And I gave all those disclaimers, by the way, because I gain nothing by giving you a compliment here. Like most, I'm curious, I want to hear about your backstory here in a second, but just to set it up, most practices that I ever see, if they have a website at all, it's like janky, broken, boring. I mean, it's just not useful at all.
Right.
And here you've clearly invested time, effort, energy, thinking about what you want to portray. So let me pause for a second because I know we're obviously going to include links to your practice's website and stuff on the episode and stuff like that. But you know, what's the backstory? Like, Kate, you mentioned in the pre-show that you've been doing this for about 2 years, I think. But like, what got you here? I'm just curious. What's like the 2-minute history of how you got to where you were like, let me start something?
Oh my gosh, yes, because this is like a passion point of mine. I actually failed my boards twice in 2018 or 2016. Failed my boards, and I was like, that was a defining moment, right? Like, I'm a failure. I'm never gonna be anything. So I was just like, I'm gonna be an employee, and I'm gonna be the best one I can be, right? So it kind of felt like a fire under my butt, and
That
so I,
is the most like that is the most awesome thing I think I've ever heard.
yeah.
That's so great.
Yeah, like I failed him and I was like, this sucks. I never want to do this again. I'm just gonna lock in and I'm gonna be great because I don't ever want to go back and take another test, point blank, right? That's like where it starts. So I did that. And then in 2020 hit, right? And I was working in a skilled nursing facility. And oh my gosh, what a time to be in healthcare, right? I think anybody who knows that, who worked in healthcare at the time. And it was basically just like you were entrapped to a system in 2020 as a healthcare worker. And I hated how people were treated as healthcare employees. I fell victim to it and it was rough, right? So after that, I was like on this weird hiatus. I was hired as a full-time employee, but in 2020, I was on call and not getting like on-call pay, but had to only work an hour and a half each week. Had to hit that minimum. Super weird. Didn't understand it. Still don't understand it. So then I was like, I can change this, but I don't know how. So then I had like my husband and my dad like in my ear, like, you need to start your own practice. You can make a difference. I was like, no, I can't. I'm just a really good employee. I don't want to do anything hard. And then one day I was like, dang it, like I can. I'm going to do this because someone needs to, and I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of like no's and failures and control that I
Yeah.
wanted to break free of, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
And so then obviously somebody watching this now, can go to the website and nobody ever remembers like the 2-year journey to get to where you are now. But
Right.
what was so like if we were to just time travel back to around that time, you hit that realization, you're like, I'm doing this thing, right? If we
Yeah.
time travel back to that point, what, like, if I were to ask you at that point, like, what did you think success looked like? Like, what was the vision for the practice at that point? Was it like, actually, I don't want to even give you examples. I'm just curious, like, what did you think back then that the practice was going to look like?
Oh my gosh. Honestly, I became a mom in the same year that I started my practice.
Of
So
course, why not
in
do it all at once? Let's
right,
go.
like knock it all
Yeah.
out. That's
Yeah, you
great.
really just you went all in.
I did. I was ready to go. So
That's
I
great.
became a mom and I was like, I just loved being a mom. And I was like, I can't imagine having like seeking this connection with my child so intensely and then having a baby that had a delay or had some type of communication deficit that I couldn't connect with, that I felt unplugged from, or I didn't understand, or had behavior challenges that I couldn't understand and prevented us from connecting. So, really, my heart of hearts in starting this was to help moms and help them connect and understand their child to the fullest extent and get that connection that every mom genuinely seeks, right? So it started there. And as we have developed, it has become like bigger than I had ever anticipated and helping the family unit, not just the mom and child relationship, but the entire family. It's become more of like a lifestyle, you know?
Yep, yep, yep. And what came first? Was it like like the mobile therapy? Was it one of the locations? What came first?
First was mobile because I wanted to come into the home and see in real life what was happening. Because in the clinic, I'm just getting a snapshot, right? But in your home, I'm getting your life. And we're able to build trust because now I'm a part of that. And you're not coming to my world, I'm coming to yours.
Yeah. Obviously don't share anything you don't want to share, but I'm curious, like when you started that though, obviously this isn't easy. I mean, you got to
Mm,
think about how you're going to pay the bills, are you going to accept insurance or not? You know, like car insurance. I mean, you have to think about all these things, and most people stop at that point. But how did you like? Here's the direct question I want to ask, and you can take a pass if you want. I think a lot of people, if they're so I think the research says that something like 3% of the population has an entrepreneurial bend to them,
hmm.
and that like a tenth of those actually do anything. And so
Yeah.
ultimately it's very small. So what I'm trying to get at is most people, even if they self-identify as being entrepreneurial and they make that decision, like why not me? Why not now? Most of them then will stop when they're presented with any of the complexity that comes with starting up a business. For you, like were you 100% buttoned up and ready to go and dotting your I's and crossing your T's? Did you just kind of jump in the car and go? Like what how put together was the business on the at the beginning? I'm not asking you to like kind of make yourself look bad. I just for anybody listening, I'm just
No,
kind of curious. I like the founding stories of companies. It's because it's always messier, I find, than what
so
people think.
messy.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I think that's the problem is everyone thinks that when you get started, you have to be polished and perfect and have policies and all of the thing, right? Everybody thinks that. I fell to that trap. I was like, I don't have money to start up. I don't have any business background. I don't have any of that. And I actually speak on this in my podcast that I was more capable of being a business owner than probably your average business owner, your business major,
Yep.
because of my experience working in healthcare.
Yep.
And it is just so funny how when I look back when I started, really the only thing I had was my car. And I had, what else did I have? I had my, um, what is that, professional like insurance. I had insurance to cover me just in case because I'm going into the home, right? So I was legal business wise. I was an S corp. Then I got my insurance and I had my car. And I was like, okay, here we go.
YOLO,
And
let's go.
that's where it went. And it was honestly a lot of no's and failure and trying and seeing where it went. Um, and in that, it shapes so much of you. And now, because of that first year of my practice, now I'm like, it's quadruple the time what I thought it would be in that time. And I can't wait to see where it keeps going to help families. So, but it's messy in the beginning.
Yeah, well, the bad joke here is that I've I've been, building and investing in companies for 25 plus years now, and I always the bad joke I tell people is that Anybody that tells you that a business eventually gets to like a well-run state is either lying or
Yeah.
dumb. Often it's both, you know,
Yeah.
because like I have yet to meet like a well-run business. They
Oh,
just are constantly evolving. You have humans involved, so things are going to go wrong. It is what it is, and I don't say that to denigrate or you know anything like that. It's just it's sort of the reality that if your view of entrepreneurship is Shark Tank, meaning, gosh, if I just meet the right person, we're going to be fine,
right.
or if your view
Yeah.
is that it's like a MBA case study and everything is perfect, you're not going to
Right.
be happy in this.
If your
Um,
goal is perfection or your goal is more, if your goal is perfection, you will fail every single time. But if your goal is, I think that's a big piece of it is like, what does success look like to you? Because that is
yeah.
going to be the real measure of your business.
So that's exactly where I was going to go to. So
Yeah.
what is it for
Okay.
you? Like what does success look like for you?
Gosh, what a loaded question. What a loaded question. This has recently evolved for me as well. I think that's a question that's constantly changing as my business grows. A big piece is success for me looks like that my employees are taken care of and they are well emotionally and financially, that they are taken care of because they are the backbone to what this business is now. So I have to make sure that they are taken care of. That's a prime importance to me personally. Also, that I have, then it looks successful for my personal life that I am able to take mental health days just for myself and not have to stress on how my business is running. Those are the two fundamental standpoints for me right now. Now ask me in like 3 months from now
It,
what it
it
looks like.
No, yeah, it evolves, right? Yeah, it
Yeah.
totally evolves. I mean, I like at this. So I've got 4 kids, you know, and I always tell people like um, I was talking to somebody about this morning. Anyway, I always bring it down to like right now at this stage of my life, it's about freedom, fun, and profit. Interpret as you will. And then this person was like, what does that even mean? I said, well, freedom. If you look at my work calendar, our calendars at Strata are 100% transparent. Everybody can see it from 4 to 6 every Wednesday. It says dad, daughter, date.
Oh, I love
If
that.
you're going to call me, you're welcome to call me, but something better be on fire.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, and then every Friday, 4 to 6, you know, no kids will listen to this. We call it Wiener Club. It's me and our 3 boys. You know, there's 6, 4, and 2. And
Yeah.
we want mom and our daughter to kind of like have their own time. So that's me and the 3 boys go get our haircuts and
I love
go get
it.
ice cream. And that to me is about freedom. And you know, part of picking an entrepreneurial path is that it is harder than other paths, but you can at least have a shot at optimizing for what you want. I want the freedom to spend time with my kids.
And I think too, for me, that comes down to the fact of like if the people that work with me are well and they are taken care of, that ultimately provides me with that flexibility to give back to my family, not back to my family, but invest in my family
Yeah.
to the fullest
Yeah.
extent and balance both roles as CEO
Right.
and mom, right?
Right.
Because that is my most important role. So having that pull, like taken care of in my business, that my employees are good, things are going well, they know what's expected of them and they know what the culture is here. That running as independent is huge for my mental health and for my family life. So spot on.
What would you say? I'm curious. Like when you talk about taking care of your employees, which I think you know, obviously we all as hopefully as good leaders all kind of share that. What does that look like to you? I'm leaving that broad in the sense of like, well, actually, you know what? I don't want you to feel like I'm throwing you under the bus here. I'll let me kind of
No,
give you an
this is a
example of
great
how I think
question.
about
I
it.
actually like it. Yes.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. All right.
Yeah. I think
So I'll let you go.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. To me, honestly, taking care of my employees means understanding that there's no one size fits all. That understanding I have to get to know them as people and understanding what their unique needs are. Some employees are like, hey, I want to have flexible PTO and I want this. And other people that I work with are saying, like, no, I want to work this set hours. This is what I'm expecting. And meeting them where they are and knowing them individually, as well as investing in them individually. What are their needs right now? How are they taking care of their parents and working this job? What does this look like in this season of their life? And that takes a lot of time, but I take a lot of pride in being able to know them as people and invest in them accordingly. So to me, that is what that looks like. And that's not always the stage as you
Yeah.
grow, right?
Well, you're right. It evolves over time, right? So, actually, that's an interesting angle there. I'm curious when so you started, you jumped in the car, you're starting to see patients and all that. Do you remember like what was your first hire? Like your first employee? What job function did they do? Was it another therapist? Was it a accountant, scheduler? Like who was your first like full-time employee at the practice?
Yes. So we actually hired last year our first full time employee. And first, I hired a 1099 contractor to just assist with the caseload because it was becoming very challenging to blur the lines of like running the business and being the therapist. That became too much to juggle. So I hired a 1099 contractor. Then from there, I hired a business manager. And she, to be quite honest with you, has been the reason my business has taken off because when I go and treat people, if parents or family members are coming to me and asking, like, hey, I know that your policy says, like, if we cancel, this will happen, but like, can you just give us a pass because you're the boss and you're a
Y-
therapist?
Right.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
that became very hard and it happened a lot.
Right.
So what I would do is I would always say like, "Oh, let me talk to Jess because she's like the boss. She's the boss, right? Like she holds the policies in place." And once I had her able to kind of be like, "Nope, sorry. This is how this is going." It eased the relationship as a therapist.
Yeah.
And I don't think this is even touching on your question, so I'm sorry.
No, no, no. This
But
is good. Yeah.
yeah, but hiring her really helped in evolving my relationship as a therapist and as a CEO, and then setting the boundaries and the hard boundaries for the policies that we had. So that was my best and first W-2 hire.
So this is not going to sound right, but I promise there's a compliment buried in here with a question.
Okay.
Um, you seem extremely self-aware. You seem like that you have this like clarity of purpose. You think of the way you talk about success and all that. Um, like, where does that come from? Do you have like I don't know, is there like a CEO group that you hang out with? Is there like somebody, in your professional career that like has been mentoring you? Like how do you think about that? How do you let me say this a different way. I grew up in a small town of 4,000 people, and your worldview largely is always going to be shaped by the people you end up hanging out with. And so if you're, I mean, I'll just extreme example. If you're in a blue collar town and everything's about manufacturing, well, that's your view of the world, as opposed to
Yeah.
like you live in Manhattan and everything's about unlimited possibility. That's your view. So, you know, you're in Ohio and that's just like places like Virginia, Wisconsin, whatever. So like where does this like clarity, where does this sort of trajectory or this thinking that you have come from? Is it innate? Is it
Well, to
something
be
you're part
quite
of?
honest, yeah, that's a great question. To be honest, both of my parents actually are CEOs. They started their own business. They started a nurse travel company back when I was, gosh, like 12 years old, maybe. Not very old, but old enough to remember like watching them make a logo for their business, watching them move into different buildings. And of course, when you're young at the time, you don't understand that. Um, but I grew up in a culture of business and business conversations and always carrying yourself, especially as a woman in business, carrying yourself as the professional and as the person that portrays this confidence. And so when you start to have that innate in you, right? You grew up around it. It was the culture of your family. And I was able to watch my mom just thrive and her and my dad build a business that became wildly successful and bigger than I think they even thought. But I was able to watch that from the ground all the way up to the millions that it's worth now. And that was innate in me. It was the role model that I followed. And now it is who I am as a person. I'm fulfilling that role.
Yeah,
So I feel as though it was just something that I've always had
that's
put on
cool.
me, if that makes
That's really
sense.
cool. No, absolutely
Yeah.
makes sense. Yeah, no, absolutely makes sense. So now you've got this practice, and I can't remember if I mentioned this before we hit record or after, but When I was checking out your practice online, I thought one of the first things that I found really striking was that you have themes for your locations now, which to me was very striking because, what's interesting is most practices that have multiple locations, they'll give them like the neighborhood name or the city name or whatever they're going to do. It's not very innovative, and maybe it doesn't have to be. But the first thing I noticed about your practice on your website was that you you know and of course now I can't remember exactly what it said, but you had themes for each location. What I guess I want for anybody that's listening, just maybe you could explain what those themes are. But I'm curious why those are prominent right there on the website because there must
Oh,
be a
yeah.
reason.
Yes. Oh my gosh, great question. So we have three themes as of right now. We have mobile, which is in home, or in daycare, or really whatever natural setting best fits the child or the family. Then we have play center therapy, which is where we go to play clinics and we are partnered with them and you can go in and have your therapy done there. And then we also have like in clinic therapy, which is your traditional therapy where you go, you get your services and then you leave.
Yep.
And I have
Yep.
found in being a practitioner that no one size therapy fits all kids. So we need to provide, we don't need more locations. We need variety in treatment options. We need these children to have whatever unique need their family has. We have to provide a fit for that. And yes, that is location to where they live, but it also needs to be functional to their life. And that carries over into different themes.
Right. Yeah, it's like looking at your website, it, the first one it says we rock the spectrum, the next one's impacting tomorrow, and it says mobile therapy, which that was like the fact that it was bigger than the actual location. Like you have the address and whatever it is, size 12 font or whatever it is,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
then the theme was like size 18. I was like, okay, she's clearly like driven, like there's something about this. So it's interesting hearing you um hearing you talk about it. Um, okay, so I'm not sure if this is the if this whole conversation is what you expected. I genuinely like my wife jokes that I can't enjoy anything because the minute I like meet or see any business, I want to know everything about how it started, how it runs.
Yeah.
Um,
I can
so
appreciate that.
yeah, so we talked a little bit about at the beginning how when things start they're a little bit messy and I think we agree generally that people kind of tend to overthink them. It's not going to be perfect and all that. That being said, though, you get bigger, in your case, multiple locations, and you got employees, and you have to start thinking about like, okay, there's HR rules, there's just more process. So like when you think about, I guess the broad question I kind of want to ask is how do you think about like process and
Mm.
scalability and all that? Like, it's intended to be a broad question, not because I'm fishing, but I just want to give you the leeway because I'm really curious how you think about that. You seem like you seem like you have this like intuitive ability to kind of um, design the business around what's great for the employees and the patients and for your own goals. But somewhere in there, I'm kind of curious how process and scalability think how you think about that.
Oh yeah, that's a great question. I first and foremost, my MO saying is if you have to dream big, but you have to think small because if you don't think small and you don't take things one step as a time at a time and you think big picture only, you will never ever ever reach that big picture. It's just point blank. So for me, I just have a daily routine to be quite honest of what are my little goals that I am obtaining to meet the bigger goals. I work on a scaffolded system because if I take on too much at one day, that'll create burnout. And if I'm burnt out, there will be no success, right? It's just the name of the game.
Yeah.
So I am constantly investing in the people of our business, seeing where they are, seeing what they're feeling, collaborating with them, seeing their ideas. Oftentimes, I will even ask them, like, you're working this every single day. What are your thoughts? What are you seeing? And taking that into consideration because invested employees that's the name of the game. So starting there, working on our people, that, and then I've already created systems. In my first year, I think I problem solved every day, which is exhausting, but every single day, possibilities. And so once I have a firm foundation, I'm able to adapt and modify from there, but thinking small one day at a time so that I can dream those big things. And I wish there was a formula for that. I wish you could just like pitch it. But it isn't. I think it's all you just have to find the theme and pitch
That's
it as
right.
it goes, you
That's
know?
right.
I
So
don't know
so
if that
like how do
answers your question.
no, 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 this is great. This is great. Like again, there's no so and I think you and I know this, but just for anybody listening, the reason I ask these questions is because like if there truly was one way to build a business, we would have all just done it that way. The truth is that there's a million ways to do it, and I find it fascinating to see how everybody does it different. I mean, I was looking at another business the other day, just outside of private practice, outside of our business, just something I was thinking about investing in. Anyway, the point is, I remember looking at this thing and I was like, that sales model looks fake. This
Yeah,
doesn't look
yeah.
right. But knowing who had introduced me to them, I'm like, but yeah, but they're really smart. So they wouldn't have like introduced me if this was like not real. And then I got on the call with this like great founding team and I was like, hey guys, I want to be really straight with you. And by the way, I say guys, half of my company's women, actually three-quarters of my company's women, and my wife's my business partner. I mean, like so when I say guys, by the way, I'm not trying to be um, so I remember sitting on this call, first 5 minutes, I'm like making small talk. I'm like, hey guys, I just got to be really real with you. I I don't know. I'm only here because so and so introduced us, and I really respect them. This makes no sense to me. Can we just cut to the chase? Is this a real business or not? And the CEO goes, "What do you mean by real?" I was like, "Do- "This makes it sound like you have revenue." And he was like, "Oh yeah, 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 we got revenue." It's like real revenue, like non-zero. It's not like your mom, buying the product to make it look like you have revenue. And he's like, "No." And I was like, okay, let's just go right into it. This sales and marketing funnel you have does not look right. um, but I left that call thinking like, gosh, it's just another reminder. There's a million ways to build a business.
It is, and I think it's a reflection of, like, what you're founded on, right? Like, if you are founded on like, again, for me, it's relationship is huge. It's everything, it creates your culture. It's in my opinion, it's the only way you will grow is through relationship and culture.
Right.
So, everything else will fall into place after that. So, like,
Yeah.
if you're founded on those different things, your scaling process has to match that.
Yep.
Everything comes from that why, everything comes from that foundation. And those foundations and whys of starting a business are all different. So your scaling is going to look different and models. Yeah.
So how do you then, in terms of your process, like, like if I was to just like be the fly on the wall in your office and just kind of watch you work for a week or something like that, um, obviously you've talked a little bit about how you define success and kind of, you're intentional about the life you're trying to build and the team you're trying to take care of. You've talked about like how intentional you are about, excuse me, like your understanding processes and solving
Yeah.
problems and things like that. So like if I was a fly on the wall and I'm trying to learn more about how you think about strategy, what does that look like? Is that like are you like going off for a 2-day offsite once a year and thinking, gosh, what do I need to do over the next year to build this? Are you running quarterly meetings with your teams? Is it more intuitive? Is it a yellow notepad you just jot ideas? Like what does strategy look like to you for your practice? How do you think about that?
Yeah. No, I love that. So, first and foremost, I meet with my team monthly. We just do check ins because every therapist is at a different location and even I'm treating so I'm in multiple locations as well, so we're just meeting, problem solving where we are currently. How can we excel where we are currently? What do we already have going that we can optimize or that we need to remove because it's now a barrier? We are all problem solving, we are all in on this, and it's all a solution based culture because problems do come up, but it is never the end of the road, right? So that is the first step. And then I meet with each individual team member. Now, granted, to be honest, we only have 4 people on our team, but I meet with them quarterly and individually establish goals, how they're doing, where things are going, investing in that way. Then for growth, I think you can kind of figure it out. I'm big on relationships, right? So once I'm finding a consistent problem within the therapy model, like how things have always been done, I find errors in it. It's just something that I like to do. And in that I'm finding a solution. So, just to give you an example, I'm big on relationships. So, once I started this business, the first thing I did was reach out to anyone and everyone I could, say, "Hey, I'm here. Can I come meet with you?" And it was not income based. It was the goal of meeting people was to build that relationship, point blank, nothing
And this,
further.
you mean in the context of like, hey, I'm starting this practice and I want to meet you? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, like, I just want to meet you. Let's talk about what I can offer, things of that nature. Um, and I think that starting there is just understanding, to answer your question, how I see scalability is in phases. Are you creating, is this scalability for awareness? Is it for capital? Or is it for culture? It has to fit into one of those categories for me in order to, because all three of those will build your business, right? So it has to fit within one of those three. And so once you are properly categorizing them, your purpose of the initiation or the interaction, then you know what to expect back from it.
Yep.
Then, if your expectations are met or are not met, you know how to move forward. Does that make
Yep.
sense?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm
That was a
tracking with you.
long. That was a long way of going around it.
That's the thing though, right? Like I think it's more, I think most people don't realize how much value there is in just listening to business owners think it out loud, because it gives you more insight into how a business owner thinks, I would argue, is more important than what they do or what they've done. And I think that's like the biggest lesson, I, I think. So anyway, there's no right or wrong here. I love hearing this stuff. Um, so like when you think about the way you talk about your team, it sounds like monthly check-ins, quarterly sort of deeper
Mhm.
meetings with them, and it all sort of aligns with like sort of maybe larger themes and directions you're trying to take the business and all that. um, when you think about uh, like recruiting and stuff like that, where how do you think about that? Are these people that you like, I'm going to make a bad joke here. It's probably unlikely that you just post on indeed.com and then the right therapist shows up, and maybe that's what you do, but I suspect given your emphasis on relationship, that's not how you do it. So how do you think about that? How do you, especially when you think about your first hire or two?
Oh my gosh, you're hilarious. Because I totally posted on Indeed like several times, and that is how we
I did
found.
not know that. So I did not set that
Yes.
up knowing that you were going to say that, by the way. Okay. So I got to like eat my shoe here. Okay.
No,
So,
you're great.
all right. So you posted on Indeed. That's great. Now we know that PTs and OTs and SLPs are on Indeed. This is great.
Yes, I will say they are on Indeed. You can post on there. That is how I found one of our therapists, and she is wonderful. Her name is Sarah. She is one of the best people I've ever met, personally and as a therapist. So I can't slam Indeed because they brought me her. So I'm grateful.
That's great. Great.
I am grateful.
I'm going to hear about this, by the way, later, I'm sure. So,
Oh, I love that. So I got Indeed. And then also, we have another therapist. Her name is Leah. And we got her because of a friend of a friend. And they said, "Hey, she's looking for like a side gig. You should check her out." And we did. And it was great. And we also got we got another therapist. Her name is Hannah from Indeed. And she's
yeah.
wonderful too.
Man,
So
your batting average on Indeed's
I
great. All right.
know.
That's
I
great.
know.
Yeah. Lesson learned. Do not throw the job board under the bus, Paul.
Yeah, it's
That's
real. I
great.
mean, they are both great. Leah is great. I will say though, going forward, because I know I love these three and I love how they work, I love how they function. Going forward, I will network through them. I will say, who do you know that you want to bring on the team? One thing I have learned as a business owner is I don't want to bring people on that I know personally, because that divide or like that, like
You learned that lesson one time. You never do it
oh,
again.
one time, you'll never do it again. Never,
Yeah.
never, never. Yeah. So that is one thing I will say. Indeed was great. I won't hire people I know.
There you go. Yeah. The lesson there is use Indeed. It's way better than people you know.
Yes.
That's great.
Yes.
Actually, it's probably way less worse than the people you know, which is
I
probably the
know
better
that's
way to
right.
put it. Yeah. That's awesome. I love it. Um, all right. So at the beginning, you talked about your startup story. And you talked about failing the boards and then like being the perfect employee. And then husband and dad says, you got to do this, right? And then one day you wake up, you're like, I'm going to do this, right? All right. Now let's fast forward. You're a couple of years past that. You're sort of like the seasoned pro, you're figuring it out, you're self-aware, all that
Yeah.
stuff. I guess the question I'm really trying to ask is like, what surprised you? Anything like what's changed in your view? It's genuinely a broad question. I'm curious what like if something comes to mind there.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I would say when I started out, my goal, like, this is going to sound really mean, but it's very true. My goal was I just want to help everybody, right? I want to save everyone. I want to be the therapist that comes in and saves the world, right? Um I have quickly learned and been knocked on my butt and quickly learned that you cannot help everyone. You can help who you can help, and not everyone wants your help, and it's okay. So learning when to understand that no is a full sentence. They are telling you no, they don't want to, you don't need to push, you don't need to change their mind. No is enough, and it's a direction changer, it's not an end road. So I think that is what I have learned, is that no is a full sentence in business as
I
well.
I think that's great. I mean, yeah. I mean, there's a lot to be. You could interpret that in a lot of different ways too, right? It's
Right.
it's like
Oh yeah.
if you try to be everything to everyone, you end up being nothing to anyone.
Bingo. Which is
And
why
that's
finding your niche is so important, right?
yeah, yeah.
Knowing
I
who you're
love that.
targeting.
Well, yeah, yeah. I mean, I think that's again, full disclosure, I've never been a PT. I've never had a practice. But I would say that like 80% of every business is the same, whether you're a physical therapy practice or a high growth e-commerce tech company,
Right.
it's 80% of it's all the same. And I don't mean that in the sense that like their products are the same, but the decisions they have to
Mm-mm.
make are the same, you know?
Correct.
So anyway, I think it's really fascinating. Um, so we're gonna when we publish this, we're gonna put a link to your website and all that. If people want to, obviously you got a busy schedule and that, but if people want to learn more, is the website the best place for them to go? Is there are you active on social media anywhere that they should be like kind of liking or following you on?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, if you are interested in occupational therapy services for your family, you can visit our website or you can visit us at Grow Together Therapy. We've actually also expanded into creating a platform where therapists can prevent the burnout and they can start their own practice and they can take my mistakes and build their own practice so that they don't fumble the bag like I did at the beginning. It doesn't have to be as messy. So we have actually started that, and that is the Instagram Grow with Kate. So we are
Okay.
helping therapists start that way. So you can go either one.
I love it. Well, we'll also get that link into the notes as well. This is
Perfect.
awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I've appreciated this.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Strata Stories. Strata PT combines your EMR and billing into one automated system to increase revenue and achieve a 99.99% reimbursement rate for physical, occupational, and speech therapy clinics. If you'd like to learn more about Strata PT and see how our EMR and billing services work, head over to stratapt.com to book a demo.